Welcome to the annual inventory count video. All independent representatives are required to have an annual inventory count. We use WIS, the Washington Inventory Service Company, to perform our independent inventory counts. If you have any questions while your count is actually in process, please call your inventory release specialist or Pam Hobbs at 303-516-3405. Your inventory counts can only be scheduled on weekdays. In the event division, if you are in an extremely hot climate, you may get an exception and be able to do your count between January 1st and January 31st. But most of the event divisions should be doing their counts between July 1st and July 31st. The display division should be doing their counts between the end of the school year and July 29th. Please submit 3 dates and start times to your inventory release specialist that you prefer to have your count. Please do so if you're having a summer count by May 15th and if you're having a January count by December 15th. Before we start talking about the actual count, we need to do a little bit of preparation before the count day. What do I mean about preparation? Well, event reps Don and Judy Everetts wrote an excellent article for the Rep Portal, and their goal is to know exactly what the outcome of the WIS count will be before it actually happens. And one of the things that they wrote in their article for the Rep Portal was controlling their inventory is a year-long process. With each shipment, they report discrepancies, and they shelve all product to make sure there are no concealed damages in the shipment. They also store damages on designated shelves, and they report their damages at least once per month. Another thing you should get in the practice of, whether you're a school rep or an event rep, is cycle counts or monthly counts. Going into your rep tools, clicking on the sales reports, and then clicking on inventory price list to get your report. Your inventory will populate. You can click get report, and you can export the report into an Excel file, PDF file, and you can then sort the information the way you'd like to. For event reps, you should do category counts on a weekly basis. For display reps, you should do cycle counts also on a weekly basis, but especially at the end of each cycle. Another important thing to think about when managing your inventory throughout the year is to review your negative on-hand inventory report periodically. If needed, work with your release specialist to correct your negatives throughout the year. In the days leading up to the count, you want to make sure that you report all sold inventory at least 3 business days before the account, and make sure to have no sales activity 5 business days after the count. The next step is to get all of your displays, all of your carts, your vehicles, everything emptied, and get all that product into one location, namely your warehouse. If you are a combo rep, meaning you have 2 rep codes, let's say you have jewelry and books, or maybe you're a school rep and a corporate rep for books, you have to separate those inventories completely. They cannot be in the same location. When preparing your warehouse for your inventory count, remember that auditors will not accept paper pre-counts, and all inventory must be scanned and each item counted, with 2 exceptions: sets and assorted inventory. When setting up your warehouse for your account, there are a handful of procedures to follow. The first one is stack all full boxes on top of each other, and any loose items from one particular SKU on top of those boxes. Make sure that if you have all full boxes that you pull at least 1 item out of each box. Position the item on top of the box where the barcode is visible. In the case with a set SKU where you don't want the individual barcode on an individual item in the set to be scanned, put a post-it note over top of the barcode and write the set SKU down as well as the title. You'll see here I've circled the number 14. Now the number 14 signifies how many units of this particular item we have. This is a good practice to keep
regardless of whether it's a set SKU or a regular SKU, for your weekly cycle or category counts for all items in your inventory. In the case of assort SKUs, like this one for example, the LQ599, all of these items will have to be counted by hand. They cannot be scanned in by barcode. Make certain that these items are labeled properly, and it's a good practice to suggest to your WIS counter to do these items last. In other words, count everything else, get to that end of that count, and then if you have some discrepancies, you can work those discrepancies out and verify the count while the WIS counter goes back and counts these by hand. Here are a couple more do's and don'ts. Do not store product over 6 feet tall. You can see here that the WIS counter is going to have a heck of a time trying to get up there to count those items. You can store items on the floor as long as they're in tubs and they are stacked together in an orderly fashion and easy to count. Do not stack boxes of different SKUs in front of each other. And don't forget about seasonal product that you may have stored in the back of your warehouse or up on high shelves. Make sure that all of that seasonal product gets pulled out and ready for count. All freebie and buyout product should be separated from your regular inventory and should be labeled as "Do Not Inventory." Make certain to remove all tubs and equipment from your warehouse before the count. On the day of the count, make sure to arrive early. When WIS shows up, they're going to need a large table. They're also going to need a power cord. They have a printer, a computer, and their counting devices. And a lot of times they'll show up with more than one counter. So make sure that you have a second person with you, or even a third person if they send 3 people, to be able to have one person following each counter. It's a good idea to have plenty of water and a fan to make sure everybody stays hydrated and comfortable. Each auditor is equipped with a scanner. The first thing the WIS counter will do will be to take these yellow tabs and place them in different sections of your inventory, and the WIS counter will count based on these sections. So if there's a discrepancy, they can go back to the individual section and recount it. A detailed section count report or edit list can be printed for each section. Let the auditor know which sections you want to verify. Please use the edit list to verify that each item in each section is counted correctly. Again, each item is scanned, manually counted, and then the count quantity is entered into the scanner. As the counter performs the count, they will do random spot checks of sealed cases, so be prepared. Ask the WIS counter to print the edit lists and sit down with your partner who you've counted the inventory with and go through and find any discrepancies, and then simply ask the WIS counter to go back and count these items a second time. Another thing to be prepared for are duplicates, where there are 2 SKU numbers for the same item, or where 2 items have a very similar title name. These variances will be easy to identify as offsetting overages and shortages on the variance report, so be sure to have the auditor correct the SKU and quantity before closing out the count. Another thing to be on the lookout for are invalid NOF SKUs. Have the WIS counter try adding an 8 to the front of the SKU and then entering it manually. When the count is completed, the auditor will print the variance report and count results item detail report. Occasionally, an auditor will download another rep's inventory list by mistake. If the variance report shows a variance for every SKU in your inventory, ask the auditor to download your inventory list, then rerun the reports. If the auditor doesn't know how to do this or doesn't have access to internet to download, the auditor should call WIS Tech Support, and you should call Pam Hobbs at 303-516-3400. You, the sales rep, and the auditor should sign and date the item detail report indicating that the inventory information is correct. You, the rep, keeps the signed original and faxes the signed original to our Colorado office at 303-516-3432. You may also email the signed original to your inventory release specialist. After your account and verification are complete, you will be asked to complete a short online questionnaire about the experience. We would greatly appreciate your participation and feedback.